Hello, this is Alex from MusicSequencing.com, and today I'm going to tell you about the 4 different types of microphones used in studios and when you should use each different type of microphone. So, the 4 types of microphones are dynamic microphones, large diaphragm condensers, small diaphragm condensers, and ribbon microphones. So we're going to start by looking at some dynamic microphones. So here are 2 dynamic microphones. Dynamic microphones can also be called moving coil microphones, if you're a nerd. Here are 2 of the most famous dynamic microphones in the world, the Shure SM58 and the Shure SM57. These are actually the same microphone except for the tops here. If you are on a budget and you can only buy one microphone, these are the microphones that you should probably get. They're only $100, but you can record pretty much anything with them. Even if you had like $1 billion worth of microphones, like any mic in the world, sometimes these microphones will still be the best choice for a job. So they're great on snare drums. You can put them on guitar cabinets. You can record vocals with them. You can record a drum, kick drum. You can put them out in the room as a room mic. And once you buy one, you'll keep it forever. It's not a mic that you'll throw away. Let me show you another dynamic mic. The Shure SM7B. This also can be used pretty much on anything, but it's really great for recording vocals. And one great thing about using a dynamic mic to record vocals is if you are like in a room like with a band, right, and you're recording together, recording with a dynamic mic, you won't pick up much noise from the band. You can get closer to it and get a better signal. Also, if you're in a room with crappy acoustics, go for a dynamic microphone. Let's move on to the microphones that will pick up room noise. Condenser microphones, starting with the large diaphragm condenser. Usually when people think of studio microphones, they're probably thinking of something like this. Large diaphragm condensers are great for recording vocals. They're great for recording anything that has a lot of nuance or dynamic range. You can use them as room mics, in front of a drum set or to get the whole band or something. Usually they can be pretty fragile, so don't drop them, and they're also they can get really expensive. When you are using a large diaphragm condenser and you're singing into it, or you're recording a singer, you want to make sure you use a pop filter. And the reason you want to put a pop filter in front is, one, it helps with the plosives. You don't get the p, which will when the air hits the capsule, it'll cause some low frequencies. But the other reason is, the moisture from the breath will get on the capsule, and over time you can ruin a capsule by doing it. Another quick tip, if you're recording vocals, this is nothing to do with the microphone really, but if you stick the microphone a little bit higher than the singer, they'll tilt their head up and they might actually project more. So that's just something to know. Some of the most famous large diaphragm condensers are the Neumann series, the U47, U67, U87, the Manley reference mic, the AKG C414. There's those weird shaped blue microphones that a lot of people use. There's tons of them. And most of them sound great. If you're on a budget, there's a microphone called the Rode NT1 that a lot of people like to get. The first large diaphragm condenser I got was this Audio-Technica 4040, which I would still recommend. It's great. And this mic that I'm holding here is kind of a boutique microphone. It's made by a dude, or a company, I guess, Charter Oak in Texas, the Charter Oak SA538, and I really love this microphone. So if you're in the market, I could recommend that one. Next, let's talk about small diaphragm condensers. I don't really have any because I don't really use them, but for my purposes, it is a condenser mic, but for all intents and purposes, it's used a bit differently than the large diaphragm condensers. Small diaphragm condensers a lot of times are used for capturing things more at a distance. So like for drums, if you're recording drums, the two overhead mics, if you have two or one, would usually be a small diaphragm condenser, or will often be a small diaphragm condenser. You could also use them, like, let's say you were recording an orchestra. In the concert hall, you might put a bunch of small diaphragm condensers out in the concert hall to get the full sound of the orchestra. Sometimes you might use a small diaphragm condenser to record something up close, like a hi-hat. If you're recording drums, you might put a small diaphragm condenser right there. But, there's no rules to audio engineering. It's just like, whatever works. So this is kind of what people have used in the past. A couple things to know about both types of condensers, large and small, is that they usually require their own power supply or phantom power. And if you don't know, phantom power is, it's usually a switch you'll find on your audio interface or your mic pre's that sends electricity to your microphone, boosting the signal. Oh, one last thing to note, British people sometimes call condenser mics capacitor mics, or maybe they always do, I don't know. They're the same thing, just so you know, capacitor mics and condenser mics. Okay, the last type of microphone is the ribbon microphone. One really important thing you should know about ribbon microphones, if you're in a studio and they have old ribbon microphones, they are extremely fragile. And if you send phantom power to them, you might destroy it, which would be very expensive and very bad. So if you are ever around ribbon microphones, be very careful what you're doing with your phantom power. Newer ribbon microphones are more robust, less likely to break, and they'll probably handle the phantom power fine, but just be aware of that with ribbon mics. Ribbon mics can have a unique sound. I would say, like, using them, it's somewhere between using a condenser mic and a dynamic mic. Two of the most famous ribbon mics used today are probably the Coles 4038s and the Royer R121s. The Coles, they're great for drum overheads, so like you can use them kind of like the way you would use small diaphragm condensers as drum overheads or to record like an orchestra from a distance. The Royer R121s, these are super famous for recording on guitar amps, but you could try them on acoustic guitars or as room mics too. No rules again. One ribbon mic that I really love, recording pianos is super hard, and there's a ribbon mic called the Apollo by Sontronics, and it's a stereo ribbon mic, so it has like two microphones in one, and you put it over a piano and it sounds like super great. I hope this video was helpful. Subscribe if you can and give it a like, and have a great day. Peace.